welcome back. We appreciate your overwhelming responses on our social media platforms. And this time round, we look into the life of the second President of the Republic of Kenya, Daniel Toroitich Arap Moi. We are looking into some of his achievements, what Kenyans can learn from him, and some of the mistakes that also came as a result of his leadership and what can be done to change such in future. And that's why we are privileged to have Reverend Dr. Timothy Murere Njoya, who is well and deep versed on matters, politics and governance and what happened during the Moi regime. Reverend, during the multi-party clamor in the country, there was this warning where the late President Moi said that this multi-party system that you're crying for will one day, one time, bring a lot of tribalism and problems to this country. Didn't it come to happen at some point?
In 1884, before, even 86, when I declared we must go multi-party at the new constitution, I had preached to someone that there was no tribalism in Kenya, and it doesn't exist. Tribalism is an ideology of the ruling class, of the elite to divide the people. Tribes don't know that there are other tribes. You don't expect a Turkana to know that there is a Mijikenda to compete with. If you Turkana, there ought to be tribalism between Turkana, it will be between them and Karamoja, because they are the ones who steal each other's cattle. Tribalism exists in the mind of the elite because they are competing. They fail to organize political parties along ideological side, and therefore they look to their tribe for popular support. That is what you call tribalism in Kenya. It's not that tribalism exists in every villager, in a village in Karashuono or in Kituim. There isn't anything like that. Tribalism is a Nairobi ideology. It's a Nairobi disease. So I preach to someone like that, that's what God created holy. You should not call an unholy. God created tribes. There will be tribes in heaven, 12 tribes of Israel. There is nothing wrong with being a tribe. What is wrong is the ideology of political ideology of the elite that power can only be acquired through one's tribe. If there was no competition for power, tribes would not compete. It is the people who want shares, want to share authority, to share power, to have control over the resources. These are the people who are competing, not for their people. Because an elite cannot be rich enough. Because elitism is three components: education, power, and property. That's the American definition of the myth of the ruling class, Caetano Mosca, and all the American, the ruling elite. All these books show that elitism is property, power, and education. You learn how to manage skills, and then you get money, and then you use the money to get power, or power acquires the same thing. So the Kenya elitism is the one which is tribalism in Kenya is the extension of elitism. It's like two sides of the same coin. So I preached that sermon. Then I told Moi, instead of trotting, I used that word in a sermon, it is written. Instead of trotting everywhere around the country talking about the tribalism, bring me the knife to cut the cake. It was called national cake. And to see how I divide. The people, I give a little bit bigger piece. These are the ones who will be called tribalists. By the others, I give less. The ones who have more cannot call others tribalists. You can only call somebody a tribalist when he has a better job than you. You can only call a tribalist. A DC cannot be called by a PC a tribalist. Neither can a cabinet minister call an ordinary MP tribalist. It is those who have more who are tribalists by the fact of having more than others.
Remember something came up, Daktari, after the multi-party. We had Ford, and no sooner had the dust settled than we had Ford Asili. And
Ford was a club of greedy people. They wanted to have more than everybody else to acquire power. And that's why they fragmented. They couldn't stay together. They broke immediately. the state recognizes they can have meetings and they can rally people. Then they start looking to their constituencies. Murino, his Ruya constituency, Ogega, his Ruya constituency, others, Matipa, to his Kikuyu constituency, and they broke into Fodasiri, into many other fragments, because they couldn't. I'm saying this ideology you are calling tribal. It is important that even vote, those who have more votes than others are called tribalists. Yeah, they are called tribalists. There's a hierarchy of tribalism. Those with the most votes are tribalists. Those with a little, not with the more. Those with the more by those who have less. A tribalist is the one who is likely to get the knife for sharing and giving others the cake. So I preached that sermon. And I said, God in Acts of Apostles told Peter not to call other people and other Gentiles. Don't call them Gentiles. What I have made is clean. Go eat leftovers like everybody else. The Jews could not eat any food. They were told, Peter was given food eaten by all the tribes in the world, and he refused to eat. He said, we Jews don't eat this kind of food. But God said, you must eat. And during the Council of Jerusalem, that's what he told the testimony. The first council of the church in the world was held in Jerusalem, where Peter testified that God told me not to call tribal, not to call unclean that which he has made clean. That was my sermon. And I said, Moi is the one who is, whoever holds the knife to share, to apportion, to allocate and distribute the cake, is the one who is tribalist. The ones who are being allocated have no say to be tribalism. Yeah. So in that sense, I say that the myth of tribalism, to me, is an elite ideology. It is a technical way of being dominant over the others in terms of popularity. Let's come to what 1986 October sermon. When I preached that and I was sacked, for 2 years, it looked quiet. Nobody followed up multi-party ideology, nobody. Not dissidents, not even ex-detainees, because they didn't understand it. Until 1990, January 1, when I repeated exactly the same sermon, the same. I had preached in 96 at St. Andrews. I was invited to St. Andrews back for a farewell party because I was not given, I was chased in the first place. Now I was chased through the court. They went to court to get an injunction for me to give the house and to give the car and everything, but I didn't give them, I refused. But I gave them willingly later. But I'm saying, when I returned for farewell, even I didn't get the farewell party because I repeated the very, very sermon. And I said, let's dismantle one party state, go to multi-party, and that's when people picked up. Not directly. We took it 6 months from that time up to May for me to go and recruit Ogega Odiga at Ajepo House to join the multi-party. And you can see him left him up. I told him it's a conspiracy to keep quiet because no politician responded or anybody. No dissident, no malcontent, no social, nobody responded until May when I called Ogega Odiga. And then we went to Muranga and I recruited Matiba. But he refused to join Oginga. He called for his own rally.
Why did he refuse to join Oginga?
He thought he had, what I was saying, he had more votes than Oginga. And he didn't want Oginga to become president.
Still on the multi-party,
yeah.
If there's something I've been watching or people have been watching Reverend Joy celebrating is the fact that the late president finally gave in to pressure. What do you think led to this? Is it because of the pressure or he did it out of good heart?
Okay, let me put it this way. Before God, it doesn't matter why he changed. For me, the outcome is what is important. Is a desirable outcome. When I said let's have multi-party in 1986, he had an interim peace, 1887, 88, 89, up to January 19, up to May when other politicians started coming in. They formed the forum and other things, and multi-parties started now to mushroom. That's when he had trouble because he didn't know politicians would come. He beat them. But the question is that the ideology was with the masses. You know, katika crusade, when in April, when people came from all over Kenya to a village in Gagatika to participate in a crusade because they thought I was going to repeat Kumotepati cry. And we were beaten thoroughly well at Gagatika and dispersed. So that was in 1990, before any other rally. Then we came to Nairobi. I was brought to Nairobi to be removed from where people are credulous. Purported the rural people are called credulous. So Reverend Mwidi and Dr. Mwane came for me and brought me to the city. And even without appointment committee, I was posted to Kenyatta Hospital to become chaplain. And then this when I got an opportunity now to recruit people to join the party. I went all over Kenya recruiting people, to make sure we have enough. And I was helped by Gary Madai, Bidan Bogwa, Beatrice Duta. We formed Moral Alliance for Peace. Our own political party registered in heaven to recruit political parties on earth. So you can see that in the papers. We called up the first press conference on the party, not on the pulpit. The first press conference on the party, we made it at Ajib, at the Chester House, to press conference to talk about Multiparty. That's when the Forum for Restoration of Democracy was formed. And then when it was formed, now it left our hands. It left the pulpit and went on its own. That's why you can see people talking about second liberation. They started saying that is our second. There was no, according to Ogiga Odiga, that Kenya was not yet free. There was no second liberation. Kenya has never had second liberation. It has always been dominated by those who rule. People have never been liberated. That is heroism. Empty heroism.
We'll come to that as you'll be telling the country what they can learn on matters political, matters social, and matters economics. History is a judge, and something you posted yesterday on your Twitter handle, and you talked of if there are people who are to cry so loudly, it is current President Uhuru Kenyatta and his deputy, that is William Ruto. You said that they jumped the queue ahead of Raila.
Yes.
So Kenyans want to know what really did.
They didn't jump.
They were jumped.
The queue by
What did Daktari mean by those words?
You see, the people who can cry, the orphans, the real orphans, and not simply orphans, babyish orphans. They haven't found their independence from Moi. It is Uhuru and Ruto, because why Kenya too? How much money they were given to make their name, Akina Ruto, and to be nurtured by Moi to become political. Uhuru was recruited by Moi. Came to when Raila joined Moi, he came with his constituency into a Moi's constituency, a Kanu constituency. The LDP, not the National Democratic Party, his party was called what? NDP. He came with a constituency, and therefore he became the Prime Minister and the General Secretary of Kanu. That constituency is what Moi didn't want. He wanted people who can give constituency. So he wanted who? He preferred Ruto and the Uhuru. At the Uhuru. So he said in a public meeting where they were going to ask who is successor of Kenyatta, of Moi, he said, my successor is Uhuru. You see, I thought that ethnicity is the elitism of populism. Elitism of populism. So now, you know, Moi, from that day, Raila was removed from the main line of the vein of succession, just like Kenyatta did with the Ogiga Odiga by bringing the gimmick of 6 vice presidents, helped by Boya. But the vice president were not even appointed. It was a way of removing Ogiga Odinga. Now, here is another one. Kenyatta appointing a successor, his successor. So I'm saying he has no constituency even now. Uhuru doesn't have a constituency. What he is owing is the title deed for Uhuru, for his constituency, belongs to Moi. He has not even a leasehold. No, it is a Moi's constituency. And that constituency, I don't know how he is going without, in the name of Moi, going to maintain it. So he is still an orphan. He has to do a lot of work and not run to fetch the prodigal son of Moi, Rider who was ostracized from the line of succession. Now they are joining to deprive Kenya of democracy by going to one-party state, because they have, by Rider not being opposition, we are back to one-party state. In form, just like we had what you call de facto, one-party state. Right now, Kenya is a de facto one-party state. That is the greatest jeopardy. The greatest evil that ever happened to Kenya is to go back to a de facto one-party state. And that's what we are. And the churches are not seeing that we are back to a de facto one-party state by having this BBI, so that we can include those who are not in that party, not by democracy, but by corruption. You know, let's say Uhuru co-opt his enemies into the system. Will that help Kenya? Will that make Kenya democracy? No, that's a corruption of his rivals. Yeah.
What do you have to tell them at this time when there are preparations for the burials and also new developments will come in the political cycle? What do you tell them as matters regarding their republic?
I'm saying that, okay, apparently Kenyatta ruled, Moi ruled, because they are the ones who gave legitimacy or umbrella of power to a pre-established colonial, post-colonial, and a post-colonial bureaucracy, which is still intact, chiefs and others, all that hierarchy. And I'm saying that that thing is going to remain, and I will tell Kenyans that they have to still struggle. We have never been liberated. We have always been exploited. We have always been dominated. We still need to struggle for the liberation of Kenya, which was abortive at independence, and which was abortive even after we got the new constitution. But we are on the way. We have progressed. When we became independent, we weren't where we were during other colonialism, and when we got the new constitution, we weren't where we were at Moi. But I'm saying our liberation is still in progress since the colonial times.
Finally, do you give Moi credits for anything to do with the new constitution? Any credits for the former president?
Credit. I'm not giving credit for having been for
him as a person.
I give him credit because he is truly Christian. He is truly Christian because when he found the popularity of the Mote Party, he is the one who decided to direct it. He revoked Section 2A to have Mote Party so that he can lead it. There was nobody else to lead at that time because the opposition had become fragmented. There was no one person who could do what Moi did to lead us to the stage where we could fight for the new constitution. Again, when we want to fight for constitution, we used to meet in Ugamano. All these people, I call them, they were very greedy for. They could see Canaan across, but they did not want anyone to cross. So now, what I'm saying that Moi did again another second, most important thing, statesmanship. The greatest statesmanship, I say, in Africa ever. By saying, let's have a new, rather than go to a civil war or struggle with these people, he gave them a carrot, telling them, have your way, have your. But who was holding the one head of the? When we were boys, you used to have a piece of sugarcane. And you hold one side, I hold one side, and I'm holding the panga. When I'm cutting, I put it a bit so that I have a bigger piece. Moi gave them the head of the sugar cane to hold, all of them. But who was holding the bigger head? And who was holding the panga, the knife to cut? Himself. So I'm saying, Moi was very clever. He didn't let go the power, reins of power. But he gave people a constitution to make their own party, but holding the head of the loggerhead. Then he gave people and that was statesmanship, because they would have brought this Kenya into chaos. Moi'S saved this country because I knew I was on the other end, leading Madamano and a demonstration. Kenya, because I was not in control, these people call themselves Second Liberation, were the ones who are my drivers. Not me driving me, who are driving the process. They would have led, because they were fragmented, they would have led this country into chaos had Moi not held on to the bigger head of the cane. So I'm saying, thanks to Moi, we had two big transitions, from one party to multi-party, and from Lancaster Constitution without disruption, without chaos. So Moi did very well to keep on holding on to the bigger head of the cane, so that we can have those peaceful transitions. Because I prefer the most chaotic peace is better than the most orderly war. you understand?
I understand.
Yes. The greatest, the most oppressive, the most tyrannical civil authority, is better than a military, than the most orderly military authority. So because in a civil authority, like Kenya has enjoyed since its colonial times, that civil authority is addressable. It's more tolerant than a person holding a gun. So I'm saying, I like Moi'S, and I thank him because he helped me more than any other Kenyan in history by agreeing what he has refused, changing his mind from the fact that he didn't want multi-party by himself agreeing to offer it himself. He didn't agree for us to have it, but to offer it and hold on to one head. And then agree to give a constitution to the people, hold one head, 10 of them or more, but he is holding the bigger head. With the 1962 elections, how many votes did he have? He had that 80%. The other one had how many? 60, is it 62%? And he defeated them because he was holding one head and they were holding many the heads. The same 1997 elections, he had 28% of votes and he won the elections. Why? Because the head he was taking, they were taking even the bigger head, but many of them. So they could not win elections. He was wise, holding on to it with a minority and defeating the majority. It's not wise. Call it wisdom, but worldly wisdom anyway. but he won. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Reverend Njoya, for the wonderful insight, the analysis, and the history that you've shared, not only to Kenyans, but East Africa, Africa, and the rest of the world. Generations will live to remember and look into what you've shared with them. We thank you, our dear viewers, for your overwhelming responses on our social media platforms. From me, Cornelius Omuse, till next time, same place, same time, I wish you all the best in your undertakings.